Don't you love this confetti? Yes? Oh my goodness. We gotta let it settle, because this is gonna be distracting, right? How are you? How are you? Okay, do I have confetti in my hair? No, thanks. I do? Oh goodness. Thank you, I love you too. Okay. Imagine waking up in a dark room and having no clue where you are. The only thing I could see was the moonlight shining through an unfamiliar window. And without my glasses, I'm pretty much blind, so I really couldn't see. But it didn't matter because I couldn't even move to look around and see where I was. So I have no clue where I'm at, I can't see, and I can't move. Now, if you're picturing a scene straight out of a horror movie, that's exactly what I felt like. So I started to panic, because that's all I could do in that moment. Eventually, I tire myself out, and I fall back asleep. The next time I wake up, the sunlight is shining through that same unfamiliar window. So I wasn't dreaming. I still can't move, and I still can't see. But this time, I hear voices. And I don't just mean in my head, thank you. A lady walks up and she says, "Why, hello. Can you tell me your name and today's date?" My name is Lindsey, and wait, what is going on? Now, that's what I said in my head, but in reality, all I said was, because there was a tube going down my throat, keeping me alive. I couldn't talk. Now, eventually, down the line, my mom helped me to communicate, and it was blink once for yes, blink twice for no. So the lady continues, and she says, "Why, bless your heart, you have been in a horrible car accident." And in that moment, she started to turn into Charlie Brown's teacher right before my eyes, because all I heard was wah, 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 wah. And as I tried to remember the last things I did, I managed to catch her say the words, brain dead, brain trauma, paralyzed, miracle. Me? Brain dead? Now I know what you're thinking. Why, heavens to Betsy, Lindsey, this is supposed to be a story about happiness, and this sounds absolutely terrible. And that's all the more reason that this story is so important, because creating your happiness helps to create your healthiness. Creating happiness creates healthiness, and it starts with a healthy mind. Now, the typical reaction after hearing something like that is to have a complete meltdown, but instead, all I could think about was, thank God I'm alive. Thank God I'm alive. Thank God I'm alive. And thank God that I wasn't tied up and kidnapped by some crazy murderer or anything. I still couldn't move, but at least I was safe in a hospital. According to a recent Harris poll, 2 out of every 3 people are unhappy in their lives. That means if you're the happy one, the person to the right and the left of you is not. Consistent unhappiness is linked to higher rates of stress, increased rates of depression, and can even cause physical damage in your body. But studies also show that happier people are more resilient, they cope better with stress, they have stronger immune systems, and ultimately they live longer lives. So I'm going to share with you some super simple tips to help you create happiness in your own life so that you can live a little bit healthier. So tip number 1, we can't focus on the positives and the negatives at the same time. We have to choose one or the other. Now, I could have focused on all the injuries that I have, but what was the point? What's done is done. And when the doctor said that he didn't know if anything was permanent, all I heard was maybe my hair would grow back, maybe I could walk again, maybe I'd be able to breathe without a trach in my throat. I chose to create my happiness by focusing on the positives of the situation. So when people came to visit me, they didn't see somebody to pity and cry over. Instead, they saw me smiling, and it made them smile, and everybody was smiling, and this is me smiling. Now, believe it or not, this is actually a great picture because it was their 3rd attempt at taking me off of life support, and I was finally breathing on my own. Creating happiness creates healthiness, a healthy mind, and a healthy body. Now, my recovery was nothing short of amazing. I had a great team of doctors and therapists, but they can only do so much. You have to want to get better for yourself. And my happy and healthy mind wanted a happy and healthy body to match. Yes, it's true. Now, you may have heard where they will do some research experiments and they'll give some of their sick patients a sugar pill that has no medicine in it, and every time they do that, at least 1/3 of those patients will still get better, even though they never received medicine. It was simply because they believed they would get better and they were committed to that belief. So tip number 2, be committed. You have to be committed to creating your happiness. I was committed to creating happiness in my mind, and it overflowed to my physical healing process. For weeks, I was in therapy from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week. I didn't get a skip day. And because of that, I went from being pronounced brain dead on multiple occasions and paralyzed to exactly 1 month's time, I walked out of the hospital. Yes, thank you. Well, technically I was wheeled in a wheelchair because hospital policy and stuff, but once I got to a certain point, I wobbled the rest of the way. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how 2 people can get the exact same cold, one gets better in 2 days and the other gets better in 2 weeks? That's because the 2-day person was committed to focusing on getting better, while the 2-week person was committed to focusing on every new symptom that they had. Creating happiness creates healthiness. Healthy mind, healthy body, and a healthy environment. Now, I'm absolutely convinced that creating my happiness got me a little extra special treatment while I was in the hospital. Now, usually healthcare workers, they argue over what patient they don't want, but in my case, everybody wanted to have me as their patient because happiness is infectious. I was pleasant to be around, and because I was so happy, it influenced how they responded and spent their time around me. I was pleasant to be around, and they were more willing to spend more time near me. More time near me meant they got to know me and my body at a deeper level. If I were a grumpy patient, then they would have rushed in, treated me, and rushed out. Nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer, right? No. This is my amazing nurse named Ken, and one day he noticed that my left leg was a little bit different, and because I was still paralyzed on my left side, I couldn't feel the change that was happening. So he ordered an ultrasound to be done on my leg, and what they found was a chunk of blood clots that had started to break apart, and if they wouldn't have caught it, it eventually would have traveled up and gotten into my heart and lung area, and I would have died. So imagine to survive all that trauma only to die from a blood clot. There's a famous psychologist by the name of Dr. Lewis Terman, and he studied an entire generation of people for over 8 decades. And he found that even just being around unhappy people for too long was linked to poorer health and a shorter lifespan. But luckily for us, being around happier people helps to create a better quality of life. So tip number 3 is to simply have fun. Everything does not have to be so serious all the time. Let's say that you have to force yourself into work because you hate your job. You have to focus on the positives of that job, create happiness while you're at work, and then figure out how to make your job fun for you. Because remember, happiness is infectious. And eventually you'll start to shape a work environment that is more enjoyable to be in. Creating happiness creates healthiness, and it's so vital to enriching the quality of our lives. And you don't have to go through something as extreme as I did, because guess what? The negative side effects of unhappiness doesn't care why or how you got unhappy. It'll still give you depression just as much as this person or that person. So, whether you are in a bad car wreck, or maybe you're struggling financially, or maybe you're just getting out of a toxic relationship, you have to choose to create happiness in every single moment that you can. It takes the same amount of energy to be miserable as it does to be happy, so choose happiness. Remember, we have to choose to focus on the positives, and then we have to be committed to that choice. We can't just give up after 2 weeks like we do with our New Year's resolutions. And then we simply have to have fun. One time, the doctors asked me what my name was, and I was about over it by then. So with a straight face, I said, Abraham Lincoln. And everybody laughed once they realized I was joking, and it was all good. Yeah, they were nervous for a second, but I started laughing, and they started laughing, everybody's laughing. So remember, it starts in our minds, overflows to our bodies, overflows to our environment and those around us, and the happiness returns right back to us. It's like a happiness cycle. Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy environment. So say it with me one last time. Creating happiness creates healthiness. Thank you.